for this enrichment lesson, we are going to be taking writing expressions a step further. Instead of doing one-step expressions, we're going to do two-step expressions. We still have this chart, and you can still be using this cheat sheet to guide you in the process. So let's look at some examples here. Write expressions for the following. 4 more than 6 times a number. So what we are going to do here is we are circling the key information. We have 4 and we have 6. And I'm underlining our unknown. We don't know the number. So I'm going to use x equals a number. Since there are 2 numbers, there should be 2 words that tell us operations. So when I'm looking here, I see more than, which is part of my addition category. So I'm going to put a plus there. And I see times, which tells me it is multiplication there. So we have 2 numbers, we should have 2 operations. So 4 more than, whenever we see more than, that tells us we are adding something. So plus 4. What are we adding 4 to? We are adding it to 6 times a number, or 6n. X, sorry, I used x, not n. All right, number 2, the Bears scored 2 more than 7 times the number of points the Packers scored. So I'm circling my numbers. The Bears scored 2 more than 7 times the number of points the Packers scored. And our unknown, we don't know how many the Packers scored. So I'm going to say my variable is P equals points Packers scored. Again, since we have 2 numbers, we should have 2 operations. I see more than, which tells me addition, and I see times, which tells me multiplication. And again, you can be using this chart to help you. So whenever we see more than, we are adding it to something. So 2 more than, we are adding 2 to something. What are we adding it to? 7 times the number of points the Packers scored. So 7 times P, or 7P. Chris is 5 years younger than twice Nicole's age. Sorry. First thing, I'm circling my numbers, 5 and twice. Twice is telling us 2. And then also our unknown is Nicole's age. We don't know how old she is. So I'm going to say n equals Nicole's age. Since there are 2 numbers, there should be 2 operations. I see younger than, which tells me subtraction. And this one's a little bit tricky, but actually twice not only tells us the number, but that tells us the operation of multiplication. So younger than, that is that tricky one. Younger than, it's like less than, more than. It has to come after. It's not 5 minus. We are subtracting 5 from something. What are we subtracting it from? Twice Nicole's age, or 2 times Nicole's age, or 2n. Number 4, 2 less than 8 times the length. So circling my numbers, 2 and 8. And then my unknown, I don't know the length. So I'm going to say L equals the length. Since there are 2 numbers, there should be 2 operations, less than and times. less than tells us subtraction, times tells us multiplication. Again, when we see the then, it comes after. So 2 less than means we are subtracting 2 from something. What are we subtracting it from? 8 times the length, or 8L. Number 5, Jackie has 5 less cookies than 3 times the amount that Jerry has. So 5 and 3. And our unknown is how many Jerry has. So I'm underlining that. So I'll say J equals number of cookies Jerry has. Looking for our operations. Less cookies than, so it's spread apart, but it says less than, which tells us subtraction, and we see times that tells us multiplication. So 5 less than, that means we are subtracting 5 from something. What are we subtracting it from? 3 times the amount Jerry has, so 3J. Write expressions for the following. 2 times the sum of a number and 4. So 2 times the sum of a number and 4. Circling my numbers, 2 and 4, underlining our unknown. We don't know the number, so I'm going to say x equals a number. Highlighting our operations. So times tells us multiplication, and then sum, the sum tells us we are adding. So it's not just 2 times the number, it's 2 times the sum. So I'm going to show 2 times the sum. I have to show my sum in parentheses, and I'm putting 2 right next to the parentheses, that it's showing that it's 2 times these parentheses, or 2 times the sum. And then what is the sum of? It's the sum of our unknown number and 4. So our number plus 4. Number 7. 7 times the sum of a number and 9. So I circled my numbers, I underlined our unknown. So our unknown is x equals a number again. Highlighting our keywords, we see times, which tells us multiplication, and sum again, which tells us addition. We're doing 7 times the sum. So 7 is being multiplied by some unknown sum, which I'm going to do in parentheses. So it's 7 times that whole sum of that unknown number and, so plus 9. And then last part is writing and evaluating. So we are going to write a 2-step expression and then evaluate for some unknown value. So a plumber charges $75 plus $50 per hour worked. Defining a variable, identifying our key information. So I'm going to circle my numbers, 75, 50, and underline our unknown. We don't know the number of hours worked. So H equals number of hours. Write an expression to represent the amount the plumber charges. So I'm going to highlight that key information. I see the word plus, which tells me addition. And then this one you might have forgotten, but per, if you look on the front, per tells us multiplication. So we're doing $75 plus $50 times the number of hours, or 50H. How it's written is really like this. but a lot of times we put our variable first. So if you wrote it as 50H plus 75, that is fine too. And then for part C, find the total cost of hiring a plumber for 3 hours. So I'm taking this 3 hours and I'm plugging it in for the H in that expression. So 75 plus 50 times what if H equals 3? So 75 plus 50 times 3 is 150, or 75 plus 150 is $225. And last one, Ryan's parents gave him $10 plus $5 for each chore he completed. Going to circle our numbers, underline the unknown. So we don't know how many chores he has completed. So I'm going to say my variable equals C equals the number of chores completed specifically, right? He could have chores that he doesn't complete. Looking for our keywords, I see plus, which tells me addition. I see the word each. And if you don't remember, you can look on the front. Each, oh, we don't have it on here. I'm going to add it in here. Each tells us multiplication. So writing an expression, 10 plus $5 for each chore, 5 times the number of chores, or 5C. Again, this is kind of how it's said in the sentence, but if you had written it as 5C plus 10, that would work as well. And then for part C, find the total amount of money Ryan gets for completing 7 chores. We are taking that 7 and plugging it in for the C. So 10 plus 5 times that C value of 7. So 10 plus 35, which equals $45. Not too shabby. And that's it.